Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back to The Exhausted CPA. I'm your host, the CPA who loves numbers and hates unnecessary effort. Today we'll be talking taxable brokerage accounts and why I think they are such a powerful tool in retirement. Let's dive in.
When most people think about retirement accounts, their minds go straight to the usual headliners. The 401k, the traditional IRA, the Roth IRA. Those are the accounts that get all the attention. Those are the accounts people obsess over while they are working. Those are the accounts that dominate almost every retirement conversation. But there is another account that often sits quietly in the background, and in many cases it ends up doing some of the most important work in the entire plan. That account is the taxable brokerage account. And if you are heading toward retirement, especially early retirement, this account can be far more valuable than most people realize. In fact, for some households, it becomes the most useful account they own. Not because it is glamorous, not because it gets special marketing, not because it sounds sophisticated, but because it gives you something retirement planning desperately needs: room to maneuver. And that matters more than people think, because once retirement gets close, the question usually stops being, how much have I saved? The question becomes, how do I actually use this money in a smart way? How do I replace my paycheck? How do I control taxes? How do I avoid triggering unnecessary income? How do I keep flexibility if I retire before 59 and a half? How do I create spending power without backing myself into a tax corner? That is where account type starts to matter just as much as account size, because not all dollars behave the same way. Some dollars are pre-tax, some are after-tax, some are tax-free later, some are taxable along the way. And once you understand that, retirement planning stops being just about growing assets and starts becoming about placing the right dollars in the right role. That is why I am such a fan of the taxable brokerage account. It is not just an investment account, it is a pressure release valve. It gives you options at exactly the moment retirement planning becomes an options game. So let's walk through why this account can be so powerful. But before we get into the reasons, we need to level set on what this account actually is and how it differs from the accounts most people already know. Let's start with the traditional side. A traditional 401k or traditional IRA generally gives you a tax break up front. You put money in before tax, or in the case of a deductible IRA, you claim the deduction. That means you defer taxes now and pay them later when the money comes out. So traditional accounts are basically a deal with your future self. You get a tax break today, and future you handles the tax bill later. Then there is the Roth side. A Roth 401k or Roth IRA works in the opposite direction. You pay taxes up front, contribute after-tax money, and if the rules are met, the money comes out tax-free later. That is the appeal. You pay the toll now so the road is open later. The taxable brokerage account is different from both. There is no deduction when the money goes in. You earn money, pay taxes on it, and then invest what is left. So the contribution itself is after tax, similar to a Roth in that sense. But from there, it behaves very differently. Unlike a Roth, the account does not get special tax sheltering while it grows. You may owe taxes along the way on interest, dividends, and realized capital gains. That is why you receive tax forms each year. And unlike a traditional IRA or 401k, withdrawals are not taxed just because you take the money out. That part is critical. With a taxable brokerage account, you are not taxed on withdrawals themselves. You are taxed based on what happened inside the account: dividends, interest, realized gains. That different tax structure is exactly why this account becomes so useful. It does not fit neatly into the pay now or pay later boxes of traditional and Roth accounts. It is its own category, and that third category is what gives it so much strategic value. So let's get into the reasons I like it so much. The first reason is flexibility, and honestly, this may be the single biggest strength of the taxable brokerage account. Retirement accounts are full of gates: contribution limits, income limits, age rules, penalty rules, required waiting periods, distribution rules. The taxable brokerage account has far fewer of those barriers. You can put as much money into it as you want. There is no annual contribution cap. There is no earned income requirement. There is no, sorry, you make too much for this account rule, and when you want to use the money, you can use it. No age 59 and a half rule. No early withdrawal penalty just because you are younger. No retirement account style gatekeeper asking whether you are old enough yet. That freedom matters, especially in retirement, because retirement rarely unfolds in a perfectly straight line. You may need money for travel, healthcare, a move, family support, a gap year, a market downturn, or just a change in plan. The brokerage account gives you access without all the ceremony. It is liquid, it is usable, it is yours to direct, and that makes it one of the most practical tools in the entire plan. The second reason is that it can act as a bridge account. This is especially powerful for people retiring before age 59 and a half, because one of the biggest challenges in early retirement is not just having enough money. It is having enough accessible money. There is a difference. You can have a large net worth on paper and still feel boxed in if too much of it is stuck behind retirement account timing rules. That is where the brokerage account shines. It can help carry you from the early retirement years to the point when your other accounts become easier to access. Think of it like the temporary road that lets you cross the gap before the main highway opens. If you retire at 53, 55, or 57, you may not want to force large withdrawals from retirement accounts in a way that spikes taxes or creates penalties. You may be trying to manage ACA subsidy eligibility. You may be trying to keep taxable income lower. You may be blending distributions carefully. The brokerage account gives you another source of fuel. It helps you build a paycheck without having every dollar show up as ordinary income. And that can be enormously helpful in those years before Medicare, before full Social Security decisions, and before the rest of the retirement structure is fully on. The third reason I love the brokerage account is that, under the right conditions, it can behave in a way that looks surprisingly similar to tax-free money. And this is where people often underestimate it, because they hear taxable brokerage and immediately assume bad from a tax standpoint. But that is not always true. In fact, if you manage capital gains intentionally, you may be able to realize long-term gains at a 0% federal tax rate. That is where tax gain harvesting enters the picture. This is one of the most powerful and underappreciated planning opportunities available. The basic idea is simple. You deliberately sell appreciated investments while your income is low enough that those long-term capital gains fall into the 0% bracket. That means you can realize gains, reset your cost basis higher, and potentially pay no federal tax on those gains. That is a huge deal, because it means the brokerage account can sometimes produce spendable dollars with remarkably little tax friction. And in retirement, especially early retirement when income may be lower, that becomes very attractive. You are essentially creating room where gains can be harvested efficiently, not because the account is tax-free by design, but because the tax code allows a window where long-term capital gains may be taxed at 0%. That is a very different outcome from ordinary income taxation in traditional retirement accounts. So while a brokerage account is technically taxable, it can still be incredibly tax efficient when used well. The fourth reason is tax loss harvesting. If tax gain harvesting is the sunny day strategy, tax loss harvesting is the rainy day strategy. When markets fall and investments are temporarily down, the brokerage account gives you the opportunity to realize those losses and put them to work. Those losses can offset realized gains elsewhere. Sold something else at a gain? Losses may help neutralize it. Need to rebalance? Losses may soften the tax hit. And if you do not use all the losses now, they can carry forward into future years. That is powerful, because it means a bad market year can create future tax assets. Even better, up to a limited amount of capital losses can also offset ordinary income each year. So the brokerage account does not just expose you to taxes, it also gives you tax management tools that other accounts simply do not offer in the same way. That flexibility has real value over time. The fifth reason is asset location. This is where retirement planning gets more sophisticated and, frankly, more useful. When people think about investing, they often focus only on what they are buying: stocks, bonds, funds, cash. But equally important is where those investments live, because the same investment can behave differently from a tax standpoint depending on which account holds it. That is what asset location is about. If you have three major tax buckets, traditional, Roth, and taxable, you probably do not want to use them all the exact same way. For example, Roth space is often your most precious growth space. Why? Because future growth may come out tax-free. So many people want their Roth dollars invested more aggressively or in assets with greater upside potential. Meanwhile, the taxable brokerage account is the account where interest, dividends, and realized gains may create ongoing tax friction. So if you are not using it for current income, you may want to be more thoughtful about what sits there. And traditional IRA or 401k assets may be better places for certain income-producing investments because the ongoing tax drag is sheltered inside the account until withdrawal. So the brokerage account does not just serve a withdrawal purpose. It also helps complete the puzzle of intelligent asset placement. It gives you a full tax triangle instead of just two corners. And that can improve tax efficiency over time. The sixth reason is liquidity. Now, this overlaps a little with flexibility, but it deserves its own category because liquidity becomes incredibly important in the first phase of retirement. Retirement is not only about having enough assets, it is also about being able to turn those assets into usable cash without creating problems. That is what liquidity solves, and the brokerage account is one of the cleanest liquidity tools you can have. If you need money, it is there. If you want to travel more in your go-go years, it is there. If you want to spend before 59 and a half without constantly tripping over penalty rules, it is there. If you need to fill in around other income sources, it is there. That kind of accessible capital can dramatically improve how retirement feels. Because retirement is not fun if every spending decision turns into a tax puzzle. It is not enjoyable if every withdrawal feels like you are stepping on a landmine. It is not freeing if your balance sheet is large but your accessible cash is awkward. Liquidity gives retirement breathing room. It helps convert wealth on paper into life in motion. And that matters, especially in the years when you are healthiest, most active, and most able to enjoy your time. The seventh reason I love the taxable brokerage account is estate planning, and this one is a major advantage. When appreciated assets in a taxable brokerage account pass to heirs, they generally receive a step up in basis. That means the embedded capital gain may effectively disappear for tax purposes at death, resetting the value to the current market value for the heir. That can be extremely valuable because if you held appreciated stock, mutual funds, ETFs, or other assets for many years, and those gains are large, your heirs may inherit them with a fresh basis rather than your old low basis. That can significantly reduce or eliminate capital gains tax on those inherited gains. Compare that with a traditional IRA or 401k. Those accounts do not get that same kind of clean treatment. Those dollars are still pre-tax dollars. And when heirs withdraw from those accounts, they are generally dealing with ordinary income taxation, often under inherited account distribution rules that can force the money out over time. That is a very different estate planning outcome. So if legacy matters to you, the brokerage account deserves serious attention, because the type of account you leave behind can matter just as much as the amount you leave behind. So when I step back and look at all of this is why I value the taxable brokerage account so highly. It gives you flexibility when other accounts are rigid. It gives you a bridge when other dollars are locked up. It may give you access to 0% long-term capital gains treatment in the right situation. It gives you tax loss harvesting opportunities. It helps with smarter asset location. It gives you liquidity when retirement needs to feel usable, not theoretical. And it can offer very attractive estate planning treatment through the step-up in basis. That is a lot of utility for an account people often overlook. So if you do not already have one, it is worth asking whether a taxable brokerage account should be part of your overall strategy, not instead of your retirement accounts, but alongside them. And if you already have one, then the next question becomes, is it positioned properly? Are the investments inside it aligned with how you may want to use it? Is it serving as a bridge, a tax management tool, a liquidity reserve, an estate asset, or all of the above? Because the brokerage account is not just extra investing space. Used well, it becomes one of the most versatile tools in retirement planning. And versatility is exactly what makes retirement plans stronger.
If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and also share with someone who it can help. Please remember, I make these videos for educational purposes only, and these videos are not tax or investment advice. See you next time.